The cycle of consciousness is coming now to a completion. And most of humanity have no clue what's going on. Also the leaders are not really telling humanity what it's all about. Why we have come to this planet, who we are, and what it takes to realize a divine plan. So what is the plan? The divine plan is to make this earth a portal of peace. And why a portal? What is a portal? You cannot create a portal unless you have two sides. You cannot create a portal with one side. You need two sides. In practical terms, the two sides are the outside and the inside. And why is this portal so important? Or any portal? You see, there is only one constant in creation. That means something that does not change, and that's what change is. Change is the only constant. And law is constant. So change is the law. So this moment, change. This moment is a portal. That's the way to continue on the way. We need every moment to be a portal. We are the portal. But as it is today, humanity, the whole world gets stuck, fixed. Like a tumor. Yeah? It's not flowing. The environment is polluted. It's stuck. It's not flowing. People's emotions are stuck. The mind, there is hesitation, there is fear, there is, and at times they release this fear, we call this anger, and then we cannot continue. But that anger will destroy. The whole world is stuck. So, how can we actually change? I mean, be in flow, be in the moment. See, everyone knows this symbol. Right? The symbol of love, also the symbol of the heart. It is one, that is the origin, becoming two. That's expansion. That's the very beginning of creation, the polarization. You see, creation begins with one becoming two. And why? Because the origin of creation is the great mystery. That means the oneness, where there is no polarity, there is no way to become conscious. We cannot compare, we cannot sense, because the great mystery, the void, So, and it contains infinite possibilities. But then to create a reality, that means change the possibility in a reality, we need to be able to realize, to be aware. So that's why the very beginning, to connect with the source, the unknown, one had to become two. That's expansion. And continues that the way we can continue the way. So when we are born, what do you do? Inhale or exhale? We exhale. Right? So we continue the way by expansion. And why do we expand? To have an experience. To have an experience. To find out how to realize ourselves. So that's the goal of life, to realize ourselves. But the farther we go away from the source, the more we forget that all is one. So what happens is, we create a dialogue, and if we don't agree with what we have in common, that is the center, we have an argument, and becomes conflict, become war. Today they have come to the very extreme, and we forgot that we have the same oneness in common, and that's within us. Everything is maintained by the oneness. That's why all opposites attract one another, but when we don't have a center to unify the opposites, then what happens is we create a conflict. We try to destroy each other. It's like this. We begin with the oneness. It's like both sides, see, have the same origin, and in the process of the duality, the opposites, they are mirrors to each other, right? Okay, see, they're mirrors to each other. But then we forget that we don't have the oneness in common. These mirrors can separate, right? And we cannot see each other into each other, and we see the distortion because we are not one, and not understanding that all is one, we try to destroy the other mirror, and so that's what's happening. Mirrors against mirrors, right? So what is needed is a unifying center, you see, like this. It's supposed to be the center here, to unify the center, and by that unifying center, the mirrors can see each other as one. See? And that is self-realization. The light can see the light. We all have the light within ourselves, but we don't see our own light. And so, in the process now, it's a test, the last test of humanity is, how can we become conscious that we have this in common, the oneness, and unite, become one. As an individual, I mean as a unique being, but also in a collective way. And when we can do it in a collective way, by remembering, right? They call this memory. Memory is a link. We remember the source within ourselves, then the two can become one. See, that's the completion of the symbol of love, heart. Love means unconditional. But until we can unify the opposites into one, we don't really love. It's conditional. I love you. If you don't love me, I don't love you. We don't give ourselves unconditionally. It's always like, okay, I do this for you, how much you pay? If you don't love me, I don't love you. Yeah, that is conditional. But the unconditional, the oneness, that is love. Yeah? And so, and why does it correlate with the heart? Because the heart is the unifying center of our entire being. And what our being is, we are creation. We are creation in the human form. So all of creation is like a circle. And all of creation is maintained by the center that does not change. So all being is like creation, is a circle. And the center, that's our heart. And what unifies or what synchronizes or what maintains a harmony between the circle and the center, that is our blood. So everything contains of three. We have the oneness, the origin, and the duality. Three. So we have a body, and a mind, and a spirit. So everything is maintained by the Trinity. So also this Trinity is most profoundly maintained by the mind, the brain, and the small intestine, right? There's the inner heaven and the inner earth, and they attract one another, and that is the heart. Okay? So this Trinity, we call it body, mind, and spirit. And they correlate with the digestive system, the physical, the body, the nervous system, like the spine, all the way to the brain. So inner earth, inner heaven, and they attract one another by memory, and that is our circulatory system. So our heart is the center that we, you may say, the portal that connects with the Creator, but we have to become conscious that the two are one. And when we don't have memory, that means we don't have the blood that contains the memory to maintain that relationship between the circle, creation, and the center, the Creator, then we are so-called confused. We are contra-fusion. We are not fusing. We are opposite. We are in conflict. So the earth also has this trinity, like this. We have the circle, that's the body, and we have the center, and that's the nucleus of the earth. And that nucleus contains the total memory, so all the way from the source through an evolution, cosmic evolution. That center contains the total memory. And so that memory has to be released by the polarity. Again, the source is now realized in a physical form, and here we get the polarity, 1 becoming 2, that is north and south. But also there's a polarity of a polarity. So we have here the east and the west. And by the 4, right, we can come to the center. And that correlates also with the 4 chambers of the heart. And the center of the heart, the center of the center, the point 0, that is the portal that connects all of creation, all of the body with the unknown, with the Creator, with God. Right? So, and the reason why we came to this planet, like I mentioned, to make this earth a portal of peace, but the earth by herself cannot make a connection back with the circle. So the earth has the greatest 3-dimensional density, and so containing the center, but then it has to connect with the ground cycle, with the total cycle, with creation, and so it needs a catalyst. And the purpose, the final purpose is to create out of creation the ultimate consciousness. Right? And so that consciousness requires a feeling, a nervous system, not only feeling by touch, but also emotions, thought patterns, and so on. And that is what the human is. We have that purpose, or also responsibility, to give sense, to give meaning to everything that we can encounter. So creation, this body, is able to sense, to feel. So when we move creation through us. When we feel by touch, we feel creation through us. When we have emotions, right, we can sense we have the emotion through us. And when we think, we release this frequency, right, in different levels of creation through us. So we are the living, you may say, the feeling, living creation. And the Creator is the one who can sense, who can experience through the human. And so we have to become fully human in order to have the Creator, we call it God, be fully conscious through us, to become, so in other words, the Creator can see His own light. So we are like a mirror, we are a condensation of the mirror. So all of creation is very large, very big, very complicated, and grand details, and all of this is centered in the human. And so we internalize creation by food, physical food, liquid food like drinking, airy food by breath, sound food by hearing, light food, color food by vision, vibration food by thinking, by remembering. So all of this we internalize, and so we internalize this memory of all these different levels of frequencies, vibrations, matter, and that memory is internalized in your blood, and that blood goes to the heart, and from the heart to the brain. So that's how we become conscious. So there's a cycle, right, for the outer to eat, and we become food, right, on all levels. And so that cycle that requires a digestive system, like a nervous system, circulatory system, this trinity, and that cycle is in full synchronicity, yeah, of the inner and the outer. Right? It's maintained by the law of the Creator with its changing. Now that is happiness. So happiness, the word in English says it happens. That happens all the time, is change. So when we are in constant flow with creation, by the law of the Creator, the one law, then we are in constant happiness. We call this bliss. Right? So most people have never experienced, because they're not fully human yet, they have not arrived to the complete self-realization, most of us not. So our happiness is temporary, like taste. You like this Coca-Cola, ice cream, sugar, whatever, and soon as it is gone, happiness is over. Right? So this is also can lead to addiction, because when we don't have this happiness, it's because you don't experience this, we become unhappy. And so we had to become unhappy in order to become happy. In order to be happy, you had to become unhappy. So, and at a certain point, we don't know the difference. And so this chain reaction of happy and unhappiness also manifests in the physical world, emotional world, and we call this war. Right? So what humanity is doing, has been doing, and now it's come to an extreme, we're making war for peace. But it's silly. Right? And this goes along with a constant, called this law, that is not constant. So we create laws in order to maintain this ping pong, right, between happiness and unhappiness. So today, like revenge, right, claiming of property which is not possible forever, so we lose it, we won't maintain it, we need a lawyer to claim our territory, and it's constant back and forth, and we need the army, we need the police to enforce the law. And so the other party also claims the rights, and they have lawyers, and they claim also reinforcement for the claims. And so there's a law against law, and this is like the ping pong world. And we create minds as such also, the left and the right brain, they are not able to harmonize because they just have a center to synchronize the left and the right brain. So there's in the mind, the inner cells also, there's also constant ping pong, right? And so it's like this, right? The mirrors, they don't know what the center is. They cannot find the center, so it's a constant I don't like you, and we see each other incompletion, which is called wrong. And so I'm right, but not realizing by saying I'm right, you're wrong, right? Because when you're right, you only have a part of it, because the other part is missing. So it is right against wrong, wrong, right, and nobody knows who's right, who's wrong. And this is typical what's happening now in the whole world, even leaders, right? And this is, they call this lying. Yeah? So the people who are right are as much a liar as the people who are wrong, because when we are right, that means we only have part of it, because the other part we don't have, but this we call wrong, and we try to destroy. So this is really insane what's going to happen. And so what we need to understand is to have peace, right? To have justice, to have happiness. It's not a matter of who's right, who's wrong. We have to be precise. And what is most precise is the center. And unless that center is absolutely constant, absolutely eternal, right? We cannot be precise. So to have justice, to have freedom, to have happiness, to have peace, we have to use the only law of creation, that is change. We have to know how to change, right? How to internalize the outer into the inner, because it's eating, right? And that we change into higher frequencies. It becomes our feelings, it becomes our mind, and we change back by consciousness into the cycle. So this cycle is right now completely distorted, and we acted out in the world. And so, but the true cycle is this, right? We manifest by this expansion all the way from the source, right? We call this descension. And so this becomes the memory internalized in the food. This is our mouth, it's the first portal. And we internalize this, it becomes our blood. Our blood carries that memory, and we remember, we call this consciousness, by steps, and finally we remember that we are one and complete the cycle. And then we realize that when we complete the cycle, we realize that we are the creator of our own reality. So what do you want to create? Destruction or recreation? Because we are instrumental to recreate. That means we are instrumental to realize the law in a constructive way. And that's how we are constructed. Creation, constructed, right, condensed in the human form. They are utmost constructive. So why don't we express our constructive nature? It's all because we lack the center. We lack that center to see oneness, to see our own light. Okay? So what we need to do is to unify the mirror, the ground mirror outside, with the observer. And by that union, we connect the two sides. And then we have the portal. That's what peace is. That's the entire process. And we came to this planet to realize this portal within the greatest three-dimensional density. And this is the plan that we have not been told. Nobody talks about it. So I'm doing my best to explain this underlying cosmology of the plan. Right? Basically, it's like this. So again, we have to work with the Trinity. The Trinity is expanded exponentially, so 3 times 3 is 9. See? So 9 is the completion, but we begin with the Trinity, and it's like this. We begin with the source, the infinite, we call this heaven, expansion, and the center of and opposite, which is the center of our solar system, there's the sun. Right? That is the duality. So originally the sun is the earth. That means the manifestation. The center of manifestation is the earth. But then, in order to make it flow between heaven and earth, to create a cycle, we need a catalyst. And that is a planet Earth. So that cycle, right, is Earth magnetism. So the Earth center, the center of the Earth, the nucleus, contains that memory of one. So by that, opposites, right, can be harmonized, and energetically that is Earth magnetism. But then, same as in the heart, I talked about it before, the polarized polarity, so the double polarity. Also the Earth has this, right, like I mentioned it here, the double polarity. So north and south, and east and west. Now what happened is this. The direct relationship between heaven and earth is maintained also by the cycles. Then the earth receives heaven force that comes from her crown chakra, that is in north, right? And so that generates this relationship of the earth with all around her by cycles, and so the earth receives that heaven force and releases it further down, further in to the sun. So the earth is like a doorway, a portal from heaven to earth. No problem. Alright? So magnetism flows like this. It's drawing in heaven force into the sun. But then in the extreme, contraction creates expansion. That's a law of the law. I mean, that's a principle of the law. Is contraction creates expansion. So otherwise, we cannot continue to change. A change is the constant. So the inhale, the exhale, the exhale, the inhale. Contraction creates expansion. So that is how the cycles are maintained. But also in the grand scale context, the earth does the same thing. So at a certain point, the earth has to, the sun has to exhale. But then the magnetism of the earth does not flow with this return. So we get a collision, a conflict of direction. And that creates massive earth changes, like earthquakes and entire masses of the land shift from the ocean, from the land, and so on. And so this has to happen many times. So in order to make this